I am live. I am reading Prelude to the Landing on Planet Earth. It is a book about a journey in the Middle East. It was published 1977 by STUART HOLROYD, who was sometimes present in the channeling sessions, but not always. This here is now in 1975, early 1975. They're on their way because there's a crisis. And Andrija said, yes, well, when this crisis is over, we must see what we can do to establish and strengthen those links to the porpoises. This was the most sustained discursive communication of this period, for throughout the next few days Tom was chiefly concerned with the political situation. The trio followed his instructions to be at Megiddo from noon the next day I wondered whether I was at the right spot, but I think I am. From noon the next day, in order to preempt the preemptive strike into Lebanon and Syria that the Israelis were alleged to be planning. In the evening, Andrija asked Tom whether their efforts had produced the desired effect, and Tom said that they had. A decision was made at 2:30. There was a vote, and it was finalized within the hour. But remember, there are among the Israelis, as among their enemies, those that are fanatics. And is there any danger that these fanatics will be able to reverse the decision made today? Andrija asked. We will alert you if there is danger of that, Tom said. It is still important for you to go to the north now, to prevent those that are fanatics on the other side. Yes, we have made plans to go the day after tomorrow, after we've completed our 3 days here at Megiddo. Our major concern, Tom said, is if there should be what you would call a mushrooming of the acts of aggression by and against the nation of Israel, to the point where it would be very difficult for your energies and strength to hold it. So with the belief that their journey would prevent this eventuality, Andrija, John and Phyllis set out from Nazareth in a loaded station wagon on the morning of the 16th of March 1975. They drove west to join the Mediterranean coast road. Then, after passing through the picturesque and sleepy towns of Acre and Nahariyah, climbed by a winding road into the hills of the frontier area. Behind a high double fence of barbed wire lay Lebanon, apparently utterly deserted except in the valleys, where occasionally Arab farmers were to be seen. The Israeli side of the frontier was fortified with military installations every few miles, and twice they were turned back by soldiers and directed to a parallel road further from the border. By 2:30 they found themselves on Mount Hermon, at a kind of makeshift militarized skiing resort, with temporary portable buildings and tanks everywhere. For their 3 o'clock meditation, the top of Mount Hermon, which commanded sweeping views over Lebanon and Syria, would be, they agreed, the ideal spot, so they took a chairlift up the ski slope and found a secluded place to sit. A mercilessly sharp wind from the east whipped around them, and at the end of the meditation they were all shivering and glad to be back to the chairlift and down to a more hospitable altitude. Further down still they came to a village named Banias, a place that echoed with a continuous rush of mountain streams. And here in a grove of ancient and gnarled olive trees they attempted to hold a communication. It was a short one because Tom said that conditions were not favorable, but he had time to congratulate them on a successful sweep of the north, and said that they should communicate at greater length that evening. So they drove in 2 hours to Tiberias on the Lake of Galilee, where they booked into the Calais Kinneret, a luxury lakeside hotel. At the beginning of the communication they held that night, after dining and taking a walk around the town, Tom reviewed the effects of their day's work. Throughout the area where you have been this day, you have accomplished a great deal more. We cannot say that we anticipated or planned, and we do not wish to anger those with whom you battle, so we must at this time speak with care. But you accomplished much. We wish you to visualize that as you pass through an area, there spreads and dissipates behind you a bright glowing light that would be similar to a stream, but in truth it does not dissipate, but reaches over a wide area. Do you understand? Yes, Andrija said, we can visualize it as what we would call a vapor trail. Yes, and this day you have, with your vapor trail, caused a settlement of anger in many, and you have spread a blanket that will keep the passions and the ambitions of those that oppose the nation of Israel under control. And you have done more than this. Within the area through which you have passed, there were spirits that still existed from the history of that area, and because of their ignorance and your refusal of understanding, they have created difficulty for those of the nation of Israel, and also of the nations of Lebanon and Syria, through their strong desire to continue their battle. What you have done is negated the energy of those spirits that are used by those that oppose. You have done a great service, because you have opened their minds to see greater things. These were some of the spirits that we have spoken to you about before, and that have caused a bottleneck in the spirit planes of the planet Earth. And through your work this day, they have been released. Tom said that they should regard the following day as a day of rest, though they should do their meditation as usual at 3 o'clock. If possible, and if they wouldn't be too conspicuous, he said, they should do it either in a small boat on the lake or sitting on the shore with their feet in the water, because water is a great conductor of energy, not only in your world, but also in other worlds, and enables them to transmit to you. Syria, which Tom called the nation that is across, meaning on the other side of the lake, was still the most threatening of the Arab nations, they learned, and for the next 2 days they should direct their meditations there. Then they should go to the south and work on Jordan, Saudi Arabia and Egypt from the vantage point of Eilat and Sharm el-Sheikh. The prospects of success in their works were good, but there was going to be some very taxing days ahead, so they should take full advantage of the present opportunity to recuperate their energies. When will be the time of maximum drain on us? Andrija asked. At this time we foresee that it will be between your 26th and 30th of March 1975. It may be that at that time you will be like rags. Will you repeat that? Andrija said. Did you say rags? Yes, that is a limp object, is it not? They laughed at that. Then Andrija returned to the point Tom had made earlier about water being a great conductor, and he recalled that on many occasions when he had worked with Yuri, for instance during the Stanford Research Institute investigations, there had been a gathering of clouds and rainfall. Is this the way we received the energy to do the work? He asked. Yes, it is like a great funnel, Tom said, and today you have created a storm that has passed over Syria, and in the coming days you will notice other clouds. Yes, we will look for these signs, Andrija said. It is a sign to you that you are generating on a fusion basis, Tom said. Could you explain that? Of hydrogen, Oh, I see. You mean a hydrogen fusion reaction? Yes, Althea has said that is something for you to ponder on. So the next day they took it easy, enjoyed the excellent amenities of the hotel, including the lakeside swimming pool, wrote letters, strolled around the town, paid a visit to the ruins at Capernaum, the place where Jesus had begun his ministry, and at 3 o'clock in the afternoon found a spot beside the lake where a bank and a belt of trees hid them from the road, and settled down, seated on rocks and with their feet in the water, for their half-hour meditation. Some 20 minutes had elapsed when a man's voice shouted from the trees behind them, "Hey, what you do?" When he got no response, the man shouted his question again, then a third time, and Phyllis turned round to see an Arab in European dress standing on the bank above them. He asked, "You are praying?" Phyllis said that they were, and the Arab asked, "What for?" "For peace," Phyllis said, and he said, "That's good," and walked away. Just a few moments later, a lone Israeli soldier appeared, removed his boots and socks, and sat near them with his feet in the water. When they held a communication later that day, Andrija referred to this incident, and Tom said that the Arab who had spoken to them was a Syrian. Andrija wondered whether the incident signified that there was a possibility that the Arabs and the Israelis would sit down at a table together and work for peace. Tom said that it was indeed possible, but indicated that they would have a lot of work to do before it came to that. Moreover, there was a new cause for concern. There were plans being made to assassinate Dr. Kissinger during his present tour of Middle East capitals, and the event could trigger a full-scale war. "That's terrible," Andrija said, "and you speak as if it's a foregone conclusion." "In your world, nothing is a foregone conclusion," Tom said. "We tell you these things so that we may use you." And he instructed them to include Dr. Kissinger in their meditations and prayers so that they could send energy to protect him. "You three together are an energy field," he told them, "and you are as powerful as the energy of Megadon, or of your home, or of a pyramid. When you are together, we can take from you and weave a cable, and this cable," he said, "could be used to protect Dr. Kissinger." The talk about energy brought up the subject of the troops of sinning, and the extent to which they were contributing support through their meditation sessions. Tom said that they were doing quite well, but there were certain disturbances among them, and they needed to understand the importance of discipline in their work. "If they could have a sign from Althea or Hoover, I think it would encourage them," John said. "Tell them to watch their clocks," Tom said. John was in the habit of phoning or sinning every other day, and the next time he did so he conveyed Tom's message. When he phoned again 2 days after that, Jim Horta confirmed that the clocks had started behaving erratically again. The contributions of the troops, Tom said, would probably not be needed after the end of the month, and they could make plans to disband them if they wished to. But Andrija, John, and Phyllis might be required to extend their stay in Israel. It would depend on the trend of events, but they should be prepared to stay longer than originally planned, and if they wished to make provisional arrangements for their respective partners to join them, they could do so. After spending 3 nights in Tiberias and being assured that their presence and meditations have helped to moderate the more extreme factions in the nation that is across, Andrija, John, and Phyllis set out early on the 20th of March to drive to the south. They had soon left behind the European lushness of Galilee and entered the Jordan Valley. The heat and humidity rapidly increased as the road, which ran parallel with the Jordan River a mile or so away on the other side of the frontier, fell further and further below sea level. They had been on the road nearly 2 hours when they drove through a vast and eerily deserted former refugee town of low mud houses where now only goats roamed the streets, beyond which lay the incredible oasis town of Jericho, where they took a welcome break. Their instructions from Tom were that they should stop every 2 hours on their journey for a 15-minute meditation. So they drove the short distance from Jericho to the Dead Sea and held their first session standing in its still and sticky water. There was no water to be found for the second session of the day, for at 1 o'clock they were in the middle of what the Israeli call the Araba, or desert badlands. But by 3 they had arrived at their destination, Eliat, and were able to hold their third session sitting with their feet in the sea. Across the bay, no more than 2 miles from where they were, lay the Jordanian port of Aqaba, and on the Israeli side the water was full of swimmers and indolent pleasure boats, while further out a military patrol boat sported. So I think I'll make here a break in this walking on eggs. Today is the 19th of March 2025. He's just talking about the 20th of March 1975.